be sure to check out my VEVE and Omi investors group in the description down below. Together we build generational wealth and go over everything you need to be profitable in the VEVE markets. Yo, what is going on, y'all? I'm Cavell Anderson, and we are back with another VEVE and Ecomi video. In this one, we're going to be going over 6 resources you need to have if you're buying from the VEVE markets right now, especially if you're looking for the NFT comic side of things. But this is actually going to be from a different YouTuber in the community. His name is VEVE Vibes. He's uprising in the community right now. And this content is actually going to be very, very helpful to those of you who don't know how to make moves in the market, because I always preach that more so than going for drops and well, not going for drops, but depending on drops to boost your income, that's definitely not the way to go about making money. If you want to make real money, you need to know how to maneuver in the market, because once you have that intelligence, once you're educated enough to move in the market, you can make money at will, as opposed to sitting around hoping and lucking that you get a drop and being one of those people who have to complain about bots, complain about every excuse in the world, because you don't want to just work hard and actually learn how to make money in the market. That's guaranteed money if you know what you're doing in the marketplace. So you might as well jump in that market, learn the market, and really make some money. Like, because you either want to depend on luck, like that's gambling. If you go to just depend on VEVE drops, you're gambling. If you learn how to use the marketplace, it's guaranteed. So I mean, it just comes down to your style and perspective. You may just be wanting to hop on here and gamble. I mean, if that's your strategy, then go for it. But here are some resources that we're gonna jump into. Be sure to check out the homie if you enjoy this video. We're gonna see what type of resources he's using. This is what most people actually use. So let's get it.
What's up, guys and gals, and welcome to VEVE Vibes, where I love talking all things VEVE NFTs, speculation, and of course the market. So I just finished my stream. I wanted to do a quick video before the end of the night that I want to give you guys here. And I've had a lot of people ask me all the time, like, hey, it sounds like you're starting to learn a bit more about comics. What resources do you use to find out the pricing of stuff? Or how do you know what's high and what's low, and when to sell and when to buy? And how do you just know which comics are going to do well? I'll be honest, I wasn't that into comics up until about a couple weeks ago, until I did more research, found out more about these websites and resources that I currently use. And I'm like, okay, this is starting to make sense now. And now I'm actually making some pretty good profit. Most recently, I started stacking a lot of the Ghost Rider comics when they initially came out. Kind of wish I spent a little bit more money on it to just make some more easy profit. But in the meantime, I think because of what I've learned and because of the charts I've seen, that comics have been very resistant during this gem squeeze, I might invest more in them, probably more in like the secret rare and ultra rare category for the most part. But I think I will start investing more into more comics. So I actually have 6 different resources, which is quite a bit, which is why anything you do with collectibles or comics, I do think the more resources you have, the better. Just trying to find either the source of information or the person that you like the most, or just find some sort of happy medium between all of them. And if you have a lot of people...
So he's actually trying to go for secret rares and ultra rares. That's completely different from my strategy. I more so would go to the common range, because there's more liquidity there. It's going, like, when that goes up, like, basically, I did a video a while back. Well, I reacted to a video a while back from another YouTuber in the community, where they basically proved that, like, if you would have spent the same amount on certain secret rares and you would have just bought a bunch of commons for that exact same price point, you would have made more money off the commons than you would have made holding a secret rare. And most investments are going to be like that, because you can just, like, when the comics go up a little and you got 300 of them, like, it adds up quick. It starts to add up more than the one big item that you're waiting to go to $1 million or something like that. So and that's even with Marvel Comics #1. That was Marvel Comics #1 was the comic that this was tested on. So, like, it was double. Like literally, if you would have bought commons, it doubled the price that a secret rare was. And obviously, a secret rare was going for, like, I think it got up to like $50,000 to buy a secret rare at one point in time. So people were sitting around holding a $50,000 comic, and then you got the commons that's just outdoing it by far if you would have spent the exact same amount of money. So yeah, like, don't sleep on the lower rarities, because especially if you don't have money, like, that's the thing. When you come in poor and you don't actually come from money, your perspective isn't really thinking about how to make the most money. You're wishing that you had the big thing. You're trying to be cool. You're trying to have the thing that everybody wants. If you're here to make money, focus on what's going to make you the most profits. And the most profits sometimes is not the fanciest looking thing. It's the thing that's really the cheapest. If you buy a bunch of cheap things, you have the liquidity to sell them all and make profits as well. So don't forget about the other ways that you can make money outside of just lucking up and holding a secret rare, man. Like, it's more items than that.
people saying the same thing about a certain comic or collectible, it's probably going to do well. You know, not financial advice, none of this is for the most part, but so looking at this, the first thing I use is obviously just Ecomi Wiki. This is pretty much the backbone of stuff that I use. I don't really use it so much for the newer comics just because there's just not enough history here to get enough information of whether things are really moving. I mean, everything here just looks relatively flat for the most part, right? We got some dips here and there, but that's just normal market movement. I do use this quite a bit for some older comics for the most part. So I do look at the charts of like, all right, when's the all-time high? What's the all-time low? How much has this thing moved compared to what it was here or there? You know, as we can see here with like this Alpha Fight thing was really high. Even this comic is pretty, I mean, it came out in early January, mid-January, but again, it's just started at the middle of the gem squeeze. Listings are very, very low though. I mean, there's only 21. I mean, we're looking at the secret rare for the most part. So these are things I look at, but even then, even when something's only like a couple months old, it's still not enough history, at least for me personally. So go on to the next resource that I use, which is VEVErank.com. So Sleeping in Comics is another VEVE content creator on YouTube, makes absolutely amazing videos. I use his tier list pretty much all the time.
What's that? What? Creator Spotlight. Hey. Shout out to my man.
Creator on YouTube, makes absolutely amazing videos. I use his tier list pretty much all the time whenever I'm trying to determine on what to buy. Some of the not positives and negatives, but things I do like is the readability is super easy. He has everything laid out right here. He has the first appearance laid out. Hey, first appearance of a Marvel comic, first NFT. He kind of gives what the first appearance is, what the total mints are, what are the notes as to why he thinks he's rated it this high, or kind of any kind of significant notes about the comic he thinks. Sleeping Comics himself has even admitted he's a bit of a speculative buyer, so some of the comics in here might not entirely match with like the actual ranking that you might see with other rankings on other platforms. You know, he has a lot of things in B tier. He even told me that these are all in alphabetical order, so it's not that you know, Amazing Spider-Man number 50 is that much better than Avengers 47 or Avengers 57, which it kind of is. You know, it's kind of hard to argue that Kang, the first appearance of Kang, is not above Amazing Spider-Man 361, right? But that he just says it's just an alphabetical order, so it's just like a very rough guideline as to what to follow. So that's the thing I do like, is the easy readability. You have the layout of the mint number, the important first appearances, as well as like his reasoning why it is. And he even announced here like for Black Panther number 1, he's like rumored Disney Plus show coming. That's why he probably rated it in the B rank. So again, he's a bit more of a speculative buyer for the most part. So that is Sleeping in Comics. I'll put a link to all these resources down in the description below. Plus, he does have a link to his like YouTube channel and all that stuff there as well. And he does actually keep this up to date fairly recently, pretty much with every drop. The next one I use is actually Boodle NFT. I'm not sure, he does have a YouTube channel, but I mostly use his comic book like tier list guide that I really like. It's very granular information. The only thing is like the readability is kind of rough in some areas, to be quite honest. So I look at it, first off, it's very bright. If you're watching this Boodle NFT, or maybe I'll 2E this, I would love for like a dark mode for this, because like reading this is very bright and like kind of rough at times, or when I show it on stream, it's like just blinds my eyes. But you get a lot of very important granular information. Like if you look here on the right, Sleeping in Comics has some of this information as well, but he has kind of like these symbols that represent different rarities or exclusive covers, or comic is in low supply. He also has tags as to what they recently sold. I believe it's like a 9.8 rating, or what's like the most recently sold real comic listing as well. I also love the fact that he has it tiered off where it's like AAA, AA, and the ratings go from top down to left to right. So obviously Marvel Comics in his mind is better than Fantastic Four number 1, which is better than this, than that.
That's actually accurate. That AAA list is definitely something that I personally agree with. But obviously I know everything that I know based off of research that I did early on. So yeah, that's not bad. That's definitely not a bad list. And even going into the AA, going into the AA category, that's solid as well, honestly. I like it. I approve this.
Then going from left to right, and it makes sense. I love using this chart as well, because in his mind, Ghost Rider is, you know, at the very bottom of AA tier, so it's better than all of these, right? And Sleeping at comics in this tier list are I like them for different reasons, and I do kind of compare and contrast them. And there is a middle ground where I do think there is some absolute truth in it for the most part. So I do use this list a lot. Again, like look at the icons. Like I said, the first appearances are kind of hard to read because you have to like zoom in, find that it's okay, it's Loki, then it's Miles Morales and Deadpool and Kang, and even shows like the artists as well, which is super cool. It shows the drop date. Has, like I said, a lot of awesome granular information. So if that's the kind of stuff you like, this is the perfect tier list for you. But again, the readability can be a bit rough at times. The next one I use, which is VEVE Setlist. So this is one I use whenever I'm just trying to find like a price point of things. I'll be honest, on Ecomi Wiki, there's no way that I know of that you can look up comics or collectibles by like rarity. So like, hey, I'm just trying to find an ultra rare comic.
He actually has more resources than me. Like he uses some other stuff here, so it's nice. I've never seen this one here.
You can just type in ultra rare, it shows all the ultra rare comics. Or hey, I want to try and find a comic for under 800 gems. Show me all the comics below 800 gems. That feature is probably not implemented yet. Maybe it will be, maybe it won't. Not entirely sure, but this is typically what I use. So I go on VEVE Setlist, which is you can look up sets as well as comics or collectibles, and it basically shows you how much MCP per item. So I actually organize it by which comics have the worst MCP to dollar ratio, which means the most expensive comics are at the top, because 6 MCP for every secret rare. That doesn't change, depends on the secret rare, but because Amazing Spider-Man 252 is worth almost $250,000, the MCP dollar is terrible. But that's also where all the great comics are. So what I typically do is, let's say I'm trying to find an ultra rare comic for under 800 gems. I'm scrolling down here and say, okay, I see Marvel Comics. It's at basically 2K. The other thing about this list is that it's not always up to date. I've noticed sometimes this can be like a day or two behind on pricing. So as we scroll down a bit further, like we see Ultimate Fallout number 4, which is the first appearance of Miles Morales. I see here for the ultra rare, it says 900, but most recently I saw it was like 799, so basically 800 gems. So sometimes the pricing can be a bit off. It does show the total mints as well, but typically whenever I'm trying to find a comic that's, if I have a certain price point in mind or if I have a certain rarity in mind, I typically do this. You can organize it by rarity, but it really just jumbles up the pricing, and you can only organize it by one way. You can't organize it by price and rarity. You can only do it by rarity or by price or MCP. Whatever it is. So this is typically what I do whenever I have a price point in mind, and whenever I do find something like, okay, I found, let's say, Avengers number, if I'm trying to find an ultra rare, Fantastic Four number 13. Okay, what's relevant about that? I look it up, I find it. Okay, it's actually, I believe this one says exclusive cover by Will Slintney, Rochelle Rosenberg. Okay, that's pretty cool. So sometimes there'll be stars on here with exclusive covers. That's what the star means. And whenever I find a comic that kind of fits my price range, okay, it's this expensive for a reason. It's obviously pretty popular. It's ranked up high for most comic tier lists. I cross-reference it with the tier list. Maybe I do a Google search on the comic itself. Why is this important? Why is this so expensive? I ask people in the community, that kind of stuff.
And what I was telling you all earlier, like you see these price points right now. So if you're going to buy one item for that price, think about what it will take for you to make the same amount of money if you actually buy a different item and you buy a bunch of the commons, for instance. So if you're gonna, before you buy an ultra rare or something like that, be sure to consider how many commons. If you could just buy a bunch of commons, how you'll be more liquid. And like, I mean, but ultra rare, that's a little bit more in reach for more people, but obviously nothing is going to be more in reach than commons. People who want that comic, who cannot afford any of the more expensive stuff, you have a higher chance of 1 million people being willing to buy one of a common than they are like than 1 million people being able to buy like just something that's $800 or a couple of $1,000s and stuff like that. Like the higher something is priced, the less amount of people who's going to be able to afford that or be willing to buy it. So keep that in mind too. Like especially if liquidity is big, that's why a lot of people prefer going for commons. But I mean, it just really comes down to your preference when you're buying things. Obviously, some people maybe just want to sell one thing, so you prefer like higher rarity, so you could like, even though you're willing to wait, you're willing to I mean, it's more profitable sometimes, but like it depends. It really depends. Because something that's worth, like, let's say a secret rare is at 50,000. I mean, it could just shoot up to like 1 million or something ridiculous, but we have never seen that historically. So thus far, it's looking like lower rarities there's a lot more money to be made in the lower rarities. But yeah, let me know y'all thoughts on that. Let me know y'all thoughts on that. What's your strategy? How you go about things?
Next one is comics and crypto. So this is again for new
Great
comics. as well. They have an awesome channel. I'm going to put a link again to all these resources down below. Comics and Crypto is just awesome. They first off, they have one of the best intros I think I've ever seen for any VV content creator. They have an awesome intro. And on top of that, they have tons of videos that's mostly focused around comics, but they do have content that doesn't focus exclusively around comics. They do interviews with other content creators, sometimes some things outside of VV Comics or physical comics as well. But pretty much every single comic drop, they always release anywhere between like a 2 to 5 minute video talking about it, its relevance, how well do they think it'll do, maybe a little bit of speculation here and there. So I do watch these videos. Sometimes these videos do come out. It just depends on their timeline. I'm sure they're busy people, but sometimes it does come out within like 10 to 12 hours before the drop. So just kind of keep an eye out for those videos, but sometimes they do it for like a day or two before. And last but not least, and I know I'm a big fan of this guy, me and him do talk offline, or I should say, privately all the time. Awesome dude. I love having him on my stream. I know I've been on, I've been on his stream once.
I actually never heard of him before.
Maybe I have or haven't, I can't remember. Absolutely awesome guy. This guy does an absurd amount of research with every single drop that's happened on the platform. I love using him for comics. And he gives so much just granular information about the illustrator, the comic, the history of even that industry. He talks about the character. He talks about the panel pages, talks about the cover art. He talks about everything. And even on the VV side of things about a variety of stuff. And I'll be honest, like he had a video here talking about it's a 7-minute video. So his videos, it's funny, it says VV3. He used to try to keep his videos under 3 minutes, but it's just so much information and that he wants to share with people to help them make educated decisions. You just can't keep it under 3 minutes. But I'll be honest, on his video about FA Johnny Blaze as Ghost Rider, I probably would not have stacked Ghost Rider as much as I did if it was not for his video. There was just so much information. He said like, yeah, like this thing sold for this much recently, which I saw on the other platforms. But he said like, yeah, a lot of content creators, a lot of comic collectors consider this to be an extremely high, like a high tier Bronze Age comic. I'm like, dude, that's pretty cool. And I know Ghost Rider is pretty cool. So sure, yeah, I'll stack it. I just kept on buying and kept on buying and it just ended up working out. So yeah, I mean, because
so that's why people was buying Ghost Rider. I saw people buying that. I know it's been hyped, but I mean, me personally, my strategy, my strategy is heavily based off of popularity. Like I know certain things are big in the collector's world, but I mean, Ghost Rider just does not seem that popular to me. I don't just hear anyone talking about Ghost Rider or caring about Ghost Rider. And if it's a new movie coming out, it may be trending and people talking about it for a little bit, but it's not one of those things that just lingers and is always in people's minds. My investment strategy more so goes around something that's I use common sense basically. Like when I genuinely say common sense, people think that I be just trash talking or something. No, that's what I use. That's my strategy is heavily based around it. So things that I hear often, like just in everyday life regularly, I know people are talking about, I see people tweeting about it and things like that. So yeah, Ghost Rider isn't one of those brands. So yeah, I mean, certain things but you just have to be okay missing out on certain things as well. Like even with all the information in the world, I wouldn't care to collect that piece. And that's how you have to be. You have to have a strategy and stick to your strategy. Because my strategy has worked for me, which is why there would be no need or reason for me to change it.
To him, and that is the reason, just the other information and catalyst he gave me that the reason why this comic would do so well, which is why I bought extras. So really, I thank VV3 for convincing me to finally stack these. And this is why I kind of use all these different resources. I don't just use one. You got to use various resources, whether you're doing collectibles or comics, and finding a happy medium or maybe a content creator that you do trust. Maybe take their word with a bit more weight, but also make sure you cross-reference it with someone else or another resource before you end up making that decision. That's just my opinion, not financial advice, but yeah. So that's pretty much it. Again, all the links are going to be in the description below of all these resources. So please check out Sleeping in Comics, Comics and Crypto, Boodle NFT, as well as Comics and Crypto and VV and 3 as well. Please check out all these guys. They're absolutely amazing content creators. And that's pretty much it. Hope you guys take care and make sure to double and triple check all of your listings so you don't screw yourself over. And I'll catch you guys on the next one.
Yeah, this was a dope video. This was dope, man. Make sure y'all check him out. Subscribe to his channel. He does amazing content. Obviously, he shouted out other creators throughout this video. Like he literally shared a lot of amazing resources, especially when it comes to the comic side of things. So, yeah, if you're interested in comics, if you're interested in making money that way, which honestly, comics has a lot of great deals right now. Some of the best deals on VV is in the comic section. So check that out. But yeah. Be sure to drop that thumbs up, subscribe, turn on notifications so you stay updated. And yeah, I'm gonna catch y'all on the next one. Peace out, yo.